Neil Young reached out to the rest of us and said, "Well, let me. I think you guys are great. Let me, I think he wanted to support all of us, but the fact that he went, okay, on this, here's the band. Like maybe those guys need a little lift too, which is so nice. And he just said, let's make a record, and he literally wrote songs at his hotel the night before. We were there for 3 days or something at a studio in Seattle. He just came up and he show us the chords. Okay, this one goes, C, G, D, and then the chorus is this, and play it once, play it as a band, and that would be the take.
Hello, welcome back to Safe Mode Radio. My name is Jamie from mid-level rock band Tigercub and Nancy. My interview guest this week is Stone Gossard, who is a songwriter and guitarist in Pearl Jam. He's one of the founding architects of what became to be known as the Seattle sound or grunge. Before Pearl Jam, Stone was a part of Green River, a band that sat right at the fault line between punk and heavy rock. He helped shape an entire scene from the inside out. When Green River split, that energy went into two different directions. There was Mudhoney on one side, and then there's obviously Pearl Jam on the other. And with Pearl Jam, Stone went on to help create a body of work that completely defined an era, and also just outlasted it and outlived it essentially. He's a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. He really doesn't need any introduction, and his musical family tree that he's helped grow out of his career is just so colossal and huge. I've got to know Stone over the years through being signed to his record label, Loosegroove Records. My band Tigercub has released a record. Our third record, The Perfume of Decay, came out in 2023 on Loosegroove, and our upcoming record, Nets to Catch the Wind, will be released on Loosegroove Records 10th of April 2026. So yeah, obviously beyond Pearl Jam, Stone's the founder of Loosegroove Records. They most notably, they put out Queens of the Stone Age's first record. They recently rebooted the record label. The Tigercub was sort of I guess the flagship artist of that reboot. Other acts they have on their record label, they've got Brittany Davis, amazing artist. They've got Bad Nerves, who they recently signed, who are friends of ours. We actually took them out on tour with us in 21. Amazing band, doing so well now. They've also got Brad, Painted Shield, Mason Jennings, Josh Freese, who I interviewed last week on the pod. He's released 2 solo records through them. Barking Dog. We talk about Stone's early years in Green River with Mark Arm, and just the early Seattle scene. We talk about his collaboration with Neil Young. They became Neil Young's backing band for a record called Mirrorball. We talk about that. We talk about a record that Stone played on for Iggy Pop, amongst many other things. His philosophy on songwriting, his view on just being an artist in general. It's great. You're going to really love it. So stick around to the end of the show for that. On top of that, we're going to have the beloved segment Answer Man coming up, where I answer questions that you've asked me on social media to the best of my ability. And then also, we're bringing back an old segment. I'm going to be reacting to your music. This is Battle of the Unsigned Bands. So that's all coming up. For now, this is Answer Man.
Answer Man, will answer if he understands the questions that you want to ask. But please no trigonometry or maths, it will confuse him. Answer Man will not be made a fool by you or anyone. Answer Man will take your questions now.
Treacherous Smiler asks, what are you most proud of? Which I'm guessing is just in life, or maybe it's referring to a record of Tigercub's. I'm just going to keep it Tigercub centric now, because what am I most proud of in life is kind of just too massive to think of on the spot and like summarize. So let's keep it DC centric. So we're preparing for a headline show at KOKO in London at the end of March, on the 26th of March. So I've been like listening back for our back catalogue, just like getting to grips with the songs again and just sort of working stuff out again, because after a while you just kind of the songs always live under your fingers, but you just kind of forget after a while exactly how they go. So in preparation for like rehearsals and stuff like that, I've been kind of treading the boards back for our back catalogue, and we have this like quite popular song from a really early EP. It's this EP that followed our first record, Abstract Figures in the Dark. This EP is called Evolve or Die, and on it there's this track, It's Only Love, which is like one of our top streamed tracks organically. It's just sort of taken on a life of its own, and like we're kind of responding to all of that stuff now and looking at putting it in the set. We actually played it at our Oslo show when we did a full playthrough of our Redux album, The Perfume of Decay Redux, which is like a completely rearranged, reimagined version of the rock record The Perfume of Decay that we released in 23. We had like string quartet, percussionist, like piano, keys, additional guitar, just like so many people on stage. It was wild, as well as just us three. And at that gig, at the end of the album playthrough, we thought, well, we may as well bang out a couple of like older TC tunes and give people like a bit of rock music for a bit. So one of those tunes was It's Only Love, which went down so well, and I've just kind of rediscovered that track entirely, and because I've never really thought about it or listened to it in like years, going back to it and listening to it it's almost like listening to it for the first time again, and I can just really appreciate like how nicely it's put together. So I'm really proud of It's Only Love. I really liked the idea of like the guitar solo being the same melody as the chorus, but as a middle eight under a different set of chords. That's a really nice progression, I think. Like movement, it's nice movement, development of an idea and showing the same idea as a motif in a different context. And I just think it's quite good. At the time I wasn't sure about it, but I think I definitely stand behind that. I think that's a solid little slab of songwriting there. Okay, Callum of Greenside asks, do you miss the Northeast? For anyone listening who's not from England, that's the northeast of England, which is a part of England that's located in the northeast of England. I realized like as soon as I started trying to contextualize the northeast, how stupid it is to actually try and break that down or unpack it in any way. It's just self-explanatory, isn't it? I'll just let's just cut to the chase here. I do miss the northeast. I rarely go back up. I have mixed emotions about the northeast. I mean, I grew up in Sunderland in the 90s, so that really was why it was. Extremely great people, great part of the world. It's a working class place. A lot of people, it's very normal for you to go to school, finish school, go get an apprenticeship, and maybe go and work at like Nissan or Caterpillar or like one of the large factories, making stuff. It's obviously like transformed now, and it's so much more than that. But obviously at the time there's like there's pros and cons that culturally come along with that sort of stuff, which I've had like positive and negative experiences with. So I sort of have a really valued history in Sunderland in the northeast, but I just don't get to go back as much as I'd like to. In the past it was mainly because I'd just be on tour with Tigercub, or I'd just create this like endless stream of music tasks to do. So if it's not like writing, recording or touring with Tigercub or doing press or something, or like now making like just a shit ton of content, which is, it's just backbreaking the amount of content you have to make these days. Not a complaint, just an observation. But if I'm not doing that, you know, I'm writing library music, I'll be on a session for like some sync music or something like that, or I'll be producing another band, or outside, or DJing, or just outside of that, just sort of generally living my life. So it's really hard to just find, I mean, I haven't had a holiday in like 6 years, I think. So it's just hard to find a spare moment to just like stop and visit home. And, you know, famously in the past, like family members they like Brighton, where I live at the minute, so they're happy to come down for a little bit of a holiday. You know, it's especially in the spring and summer, it's got like Mediterranean vibes. You know, it's really warm. It's like tucked into this little nook around this sort of regions called the Downs. So it's sort of like in this little valley, so it almost has its own like microclimate, like whatever weather is affecting the rest of the UK, Brighton will tend to kind of have its own version of that. So yeah, in the summers generally tend to be like a bit hotter than other parts of the UK, and it's very hard not to be smug about that, living there, because it's awesome and is an awesome place to live. All right, Mason Evs asks, describe your new album in 3 words. I would say it is relentless. Like most of our albums will have this like sort of trough in the middle. It'll bang out of the gates. It'll maintain its momentum for 15 minutes, because in the past I had this idea that like people's attention span, like for music, it can only really last for like 10 to 15 minutes. So after that, you've kind of got to give them just a bit of a break. So something that's a little bit more long form. It's not begging for your attention like short, sharp pop rock songs tend to be, where they want you to engage with them. So I always thought that was a good thing to do at the like 20-minute mark, so between 15 and 20 minutes of a record, and then you know, rebuild the momentum, which I still do think that's cool. So whereas most of our records have that, this record kind of doesn't. It does, at the midpoint of the record, start a side B, it does like kind of get quieter for a bit, but it's not like We're a Long Time Gone or Funeral or Built to Fail, where it's like, whoa, all right, we're stepping out of our fucking rock shoes and putting our slippers on and just having a little bit of a fucking siesta here until the rock music starts again. It's like, it's basically fucking, you know, we start in 5th gear, try not to stall the car, but then once it gets going, we just stay at that fucking level the whole record, which was a really fun thing to do. So it's like, yeah, 35-40 minutes of just fucking carnage. I was listening to like, I don't know, I kind of love records that do that, and I wanted to have an album that's just, you just try and make every song a single, you know, every song as strong as it possibly can be. It's obviously still, I think, quite conceptually deep, but it's more like, it doesn't sound like Highway to Hell by AC/DC or anything like that, but it's more in line with that, like that sort of rock record. Unrelenting. So I'd say, yeah, relentless, raw, which is something I've spoke about before about the record. It's just, it really is. I think some of those cuts on Nets to Catch the Wind are literally the live take. We have a track on there called Nightmares, which is the live. That's just the guitar, drums and bass is just what we did there and then. And then there's like, there are some overdubs, and like I'll have gone in and like replaced a part, sat in the studio like mainly with my tuner in front of me, and just making sure the intonation and like the chords ring perfectly as I can get them in tune, just so it's really I just nailed it, you know. So there is that, but there's never more than like an extra guitar overdub in a chorus when we need to fucking, you know, get some width, which I think is really cool and is a definite departure from the Perfume of Decay, especially where I was layering like you know, it would be like guitars left, right, and then left, right again with a different guitar. Throw something down the center, and then like reamp stuff through like guitar pedals that go straight into the preamp, and just so much building. And then like pad tracks through old like 80s digital effects processors and stuff that's like really distant. So that's like quite a compact, almost like claustrophobic, like gigantic sound on the Perfume Decay. And we just wanted to try and find something as mammoth and gigantic as that, but with less overdubs and less like studio intervention. Because when I was listening to like old Black Sabbath records, like Volume 2, and even like Deftones and shit like that, yeah, I was just like counting the amount of like elements at any one time that I could hear, and they were minimal. And I started to think maybe like one guitar tone that is fucking colossal and undeniable. That could arguably sound bigger than, you know, an orchestra of guitars. Like when I hear like Supernaut and stuff like that by Sabbath, it's fucking massive, man. And it's one guitar. Or like old Hendrix stuff. It's like guitar pan rights, and it's everything. So yeah, second would be raw. And then the third word, what would that be? Deep. It's very deep, lyrically confessional. I filled like 3 journals in preparation for writing the lyrics, and really tried to pour my heart and soul into the lyrical side of this record, like maybe more than I have done on previous records. So to me it's really deep, and I think there's like a lot to get out of it. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, on to the next one. Rakja Marcy asks, how much has your guitar rig changed for the new record? Yeah, it's changed a lot. I always try and switch it up on every record. Try and introduce something new to the mix. I'm a big fan of like digital effects processors. So I was getting into that a little bit more, using the old the Yamaha SBX 90, like the kind of Kevin Shields reverse gate reverb setting. I was using that a lot with things, and just generally some of the effects on there are great. Yeah, old 80s digital effects units, very cool. I was using that. On the Perfume Decay, I borrowed an 80s Les Paul for a lot of that, and used like an old K guitar from the 70s with like Tysco pickups on it for some stuff, and that was through like a JCM 800 that was just screaming on 10 or 11 the whole way, just like, and yeah, a lot of fuzz pedals. Yeah, like fucking bonkers amount of fuzz pedals actually, and like some cocked wah stuff, which I really liked at the time. But this record, I've taken a more like into the front of the amp, maybe using like treble booster or like an overdrive. It's more like about overdrives and pushing an amp to just its absolute max, and using room sound more as a part of the tone, rather than like just close mic'd, like in your face gacky stuff. Like on Perfume Decay, I was doing a lot of like DI pedals, DI'd straight into the preamp for this like super upfront sound, whereas I guess Nets is like a bit pushed back. Because we recorded it at Rockfield, and like the amp room that you tend to use at Rockfield is like such a special, luxurious room sound. You start pushing the rooms up on the fader, and it just sounds amazing. It doesn't obfuscate the core, the fundamental of the note that you're trying to get through. It doesn't add any like too much gack and filth and muddiness to it. So gear-wise, just a more simplistic approach, I'd say. Using more solid state stuff, like sort of 80s metal solid state stuff, which is pretty funny, coupled with like classics like Marshalls, Victory. I've got High Watt Custom 50 as well, which is a good, really good amp, which I've had since I was 18. Does the business. And I picked up this old like Dallas Arbor, I think it's called a Shaftesbury. It's like an old sort of practice amp, almost like a sort of Sears guitar, like a Silvertone or something like that you'd get in America. But it's Dallas Arbiter made, and I picked that up for like 100 quid. And it's like a piece of furniture. It's like this blue little box with a tiny little 5-inch cone in it. It's got your preamp and valve. Probably, I didn't check the valves, but they're probably like old mullet valves or something like that. Something like Holy Grail. And sounds amazing. It's like proper, yeah, a really great option to have. It was a bit rattly in the studio, so it was like a little bit limiting, but having the different speaker sizes, speaker cone sizes, is really useful. So it's nice to have a little 5-inch cone. You've got like obviously just classic, is it 12 inches that go in like a Marshall cab? And then I've got a WEM Dominator that I've had for ages, which has got a huge, it used to have a classic Roller Celestion speaker in, but it's massive. I don't know the exact size of it, but it's like almost bass. It's like a bass speaker. But I've got a Fane speaker in there, which is really, really nice, like crazy mid-range. I think just because it's so old, the it's like harmonic spectrum is narrowed through age, but it really couples up well with like a Marshall or something like that, you know. So it was cool to have like a proper range of different speaker sizes. And then at Rockfield, you know, they've got like a Fender Twin there, Silverface, and like a Marshall Plexi. They've just been there for yonks, and I was just like, can we have those in the coach house? Just cause, you know, they're probably on like Parachutes or like a Motorhead record or even a Queen record. You know, they're just, you can see them in the photo shots from like back in the day at Rockfield. So I just wanted to have some of my finger signal go through them, you know, just for the prestige, being part of that lineage. Okay, Daniel Robert Deroux asks, is the signature Chapman guitar still in the works? No, it sucks, right? And I hate to have to do this, but the guy that did the guy Burnt Axe, who did the original laser inscriptions on my guitar that I've just like customized, it just like flaked on it and just completely blanked us. And like Rob was like, okay, so the guitars are in the country now, like we're ready to have them laser printed, and nothing. And it's such a specialized thing, I can't find anyone else to do the laser inscriptions on the guitars. And other than that, it's just like, it's a hot rail that goes in the ML3, which is kind of like the Perfume of Decay sort of sound. So I use the Les Paul and a hot rail modded Chapman specifically for the Perfume of Decay. So sucks, man. Like that, I mean, it was as fragile as that. So, you know, things have moved on from then, and it's just the fucking arse has fallen out of it, which sucks. So hopefully I'll get an opportunity to do something like that in the future. But for now, you know, I'm just rocking my own signature, my own like customized, I guess, signature guitar, and rocking the Chapman line that they have, which is amazing. I'm super happy with. Where? Okay, Illuso77 asks, will you ever make your own pedal or release presets? I should really release my Line 6 Helix presets, because yeah, they're all over our records. I've got live presets, I've got studio presets. There's a way that I use the Helix live and in the studio that's in like, it's quite an interesting way, I think. So yeah, I'd like to do that at some point in the future. All right, let's have one more. Let me blast through a few of these quick, actually. Okay, we got VA11 and Tina, I think that's Valentina with 2 1s in it, asks, can we expect a US return this year? Yes, you can. It's happening. We haven't announced it yet, but things are happening. A thing is going to happen. Yeah, hopefully announced very, very soon. So be very excited. Okay, Floranziska asks, which song would you love to hear again for the first time? Good question. I love questions like this. I guess there are songs that are so special to me that I like can't listen to them too much and ruin them. The main one is Riverman by Nick Drake. Like that is like my funeral song. Like the song I want sending me off into the fucking incinerator. Riverman by Nick Drake. If you haven't checked that song out yet, it's off a record called 4 Leaves Left. I'd say like Pink Moon is probably the Nick Drake. Pink Moon is probably the Nick Drake record to check if you want like the gateway drug. But for me, 4 Leaves Left is like a really, really crucially important record in my life. Specifically Riverman. If I could hear that for the first time, I would, 100% pick that. And I deliberately save myself from listening to that song so that it still has the, like, it's like an out-of-body experience for me listening to that track. It's completely physical, the effect it has on me. It's like total hair stand up on the back of your neck, like deep, hits me emotionally from such a deep place. And like I get a lump in my throat. It's just complete. I have like a complete physical response to that track and the way it makes me feel. So there's that one for sure. There was another one that came to mind as well, actually, which I've briefly forgot about. What was it? That I'd love to hear for the first time. I'll tell you what, it's a slightly newer one. What's it called? It's by Killing Joke. And Tom Dalgetty sent it to me right before we were gonna make Nets to Catch the Wind. Let me just pull it up. Jilling Joke, I've just typed with my big hands. What's it called again? I love it so much. There we go. Total Invasion by Killing Joke. Fucking check that out, man. Geordie Walker, the most stunning, punishing, heavy guitar playing without it being metal. It was totally like, I want that. And I think I was even talking to Dalgo loads about, because he's made records with Killing Joke in the past, so he's really good friends with Geordie before he passed, R.I.P. So he knows all about Geordie's like ADT based stereo guitar setup. If you're not on Killing Joke, you need to be. You gotta hit them. Love Like Blood. Hit that one first, that'll get you into it. It's very 80s. They were also, I think they sued Nirvana, or they tried to. They've got this song called 80s, Living in the 80s, which is like very close to Come As You Are by Nirvana. Obviously, Come As You Are by Nirvana came after 80s by Killing Joke, so they thought they had a claim to get them nicked for that. I don't think anything ever happened, but they are very similar. Really good, but Total Invasion by Killing Joke. I'll try and find a way on YouTube to link that. Alright, this is Battle of the Unsigned Bands. I'm going to be listening to your music right now and giving you my reaction to it. So, first up, we've got, this is a band called Escapula, sent in from a chap called Diogo Espejo. And this is what it sounds like. Let's check it out. That was Escapula. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Go check those guys out. I'll put the link in the description below. That's cool. Get that on your Spotify playlist. All right, what else we got? This is from Oscar McCall Smith. Let's check this out. What's the band called? This is going at the speed of my internet connection here. Did you put the name on? Mascara's Lies. Okay. Where is the... There we go. Okay. This is Mascara's Lies. Let's check it out. Chords are nice.
Something seems to happen from the stray.
It's got like a sort of Frank Carter through Alex Turner vibe on the vocals. Nice build. Oh yeah, I'm all about the harmonic minor scale, man. As soon as I hear the harmonic minor scale, save. Love it. This is cool. Mascara Lies. Yeah, I'm into the chords in that verse. Mascara's Lies. Let's just check that on Insta, make sure I'm getting that right. Oh, from Teesside, Leeds. Cool. It's good. Deserves an audience. Yeah, I'm into that, man. That's a nice little melody, that. Okay, Mascara's Lies, go check that out. Again, link in the description. Really cool, thanks for sending that. Let's do another one. This next band is called Vindictive. They sent me a Spotify link, so I'm just gonna go with their top track. That's called Bebo. Let's try it. I'm in. Knock Loose vibes. Any day of the week, mate. I'll take it. I'm in. Amazing. It's very Knock Loose. It's not a million miles away from what we tend to listen to when we're in America. It's so much Knock Loose, Car Bomb, and Sugar. Nice bass. Oh, this fucking nasty bass tone. I like it. Oh, is that a bit of 3/4? Is it a real snare or is it a sample? Sounds nice, no matter what it is. Rad. Okay, go check out Vindictive. This is good shit. If you want more heavy stuff, they'll sort you out. Nice one, thanks for sending that in. Okay, that was awesome. My winner, my pick of the bunch, although I did like everything I've heard this week, but my pick this week for the winner of Battle of the Unsigned Bands is Mascara Lies. I'm not sure what that track is called, but go check them out on Insta. Yeah, I'll link it below. Go check it out. I think that's a killer song. Great melody, lovely bit of Discord in there. Really cool. If you missed out this week, don't worry. There'll be another opportunity next week. I'll put out the smoke signal on Instagram. Just hit the link, stick your email in, upload your track, and give me as much information as you can, so I can shout you out properly on the show, and I'll try my best to get through everything. So now it's time for my interview with Stone Gossard. Enjoy.
Interviews are things that you can listen to with people talking. Interviews, questions and answers with factual responses. Let's listen.
So, may I ask where you are right now in the world?
I'm in Oahu in Hawaii, and I'm waiting for my family to arrive for a little Christmas break.
Nice, man. Nice. That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Very stark contrast to where me and Dan are. I
just got out of Seattle, and I think Seattle is probably as grim as it's been. We're working on like 12 or 13 days, and major flooding everywhere, and of rain and storm clouds, and so it's good to be here. Although it's raining here too, but it's 79 and raining. So
yeah, it looks quite nice. What I can see out the window, background there, quite cool. There's kind of like when I went to Seattle for the first time, it reminded me a lot of England in a lot of ways. Just like overcast, dreary, like quite a romantic way. I think there's some crossover there.
If you grow up with it, it all kind of makes sense, and you can kind of deal with it. But for the transplants, it's hard. The sunny transplants get there and just lose their minds.
Yeah, Batman. I just wanted to talk about some stuff from like the beginning of your career, really. I've been getting into Green River a little bit more. A band you were a part of with Mark Arm, and a buddy of yours as well. I just wonder if you could like talk about Green River for like people that don't know how you ended up like forming the band with Mark or joining the band.
Yeah. It was all, high school, whimsical, interaction. The first year I was in public schools for the first, 7th, 8th grade, all the way up through 8th grade. And then at some point decided to go to high school, which is sort of, the last 4 years of your education before you go to college. At an art school, my parents decided that they were tired of public education and sent me to an art school. And it was the very first year this school opened. It was called the Northwest School. And it was like a bunch of misfits and hippies and a few punk rock kids. And it was sort of a lot of this kids that were just like not fitting in at public schools in different ways. And I got to meet Steve Turner there. Steve Turner is the guitar player in Green River. And he just turned me on to what he was listening to. And he was like a skater kid, punk rock kid, but also, wore cardigan sweaters and was straight edge. And, he was an anomaly and charming. And he just loved underground garage music, which was fascinating to me because the stuff he would play me, it was a lot of stuff from the late '60s. These no-name psychedelic bands that had you never heard from. They made one record, pressed one round of vinyl and went away. But he was just had a super eclectic view about art and about life, and I was fascinated by. And so I started to go see bands with him, and I started to see young bands that were doing their own thing, and they were influenced by '80s stuff and punk rock stuff, and even heavy metal, and so all that stuff was combining, and it gave me for the first time something that I was like, wow, that's exciting and interesting, and a very low bar, because part of what was the attraction was that nobody was very good. So it was really like,
Accessible.
if you have a guitar in a room and an amplifier, what are the three sounds that you can make that you like? And then if those three sounds, what would your friends' sounds be? And would those, if you just played them in sequence, would that turn into something? And if, so punk rock was a very forgiving, form,
Yeah.
that just allowed bands to form. Like, you can't do it yourself. You're not that good. You want to hang out with your friends. You want to do something creative. We loved art and movies and, Monty Python, all this outside stuff that just seemed so exciting, and so like, people being irreverent and doing things that, how could you get paid for doing that kind of job? Like, how is it possible that somebody could, so it just kind of started that way. And I just jumped into guitar, and I immediately was like good at kind of coming up with a little thing and then remembering how to play it, which at that time was the key, because nobody had anything to record anything on. So it was like, if you could remember what your little 3-note thing was, or your little, 2-part song, then you could kind of be the steady, thing in the middle, and everybody could, go crazy around you or whatever. So I just fell into that. And it was kind of a little bit of the Wild West. I didn't realize it at the time how important it was to me, but it really ended up being something I think about a lot in terms of trying to get back to that same state of mind, always looking for that same state of mind of, discovery as like you're a kid, or like you're a novice in that way, because I guess that's where I'm the most comfortable. I never put myself into the category of somebody that really know how to do something. So I always keep putting myself into the category of somebody who comes at it like an alien and going, what is this? Tell me of this thing you have. So anyway, long story short, Steve Turner and I became good friends. He was in a band with Mark Arm and Newmark through his music. I think he was in a band called Mr. App. And I ended up meeting Jeff Ament very shortly after that. They started Green River and asked me to join, 6 months later, and we just kind of dove in and just started making music. And, we ended up playing shows pretty quickly because of some of the success that Mark and Steve had and their connections in the scene. They knew promoters and stuff. And we were, after playing guitar for 9 months, we were opening for Dead Kennedys and, and Black Flag or, whatever. So, and I know the crowd hated us, but, we thought we were great. So, anyway, it definitely was high school.
Yeah. Wow. And what did your record collection look like before you met Steve? What were you looking
I was very excited about the British new wave of heavy metal. That was my first punk rock, was like having friends turn me on to like the very first Def Leppard record, or the very first Iron Maiden record, or Motorhead, or and so it was that sort of me discovering it was my punk rock, which is like, oh, look at, first Motley Crue record came out. It was like, all these things that came out that were just sort of like, at the time seemed different than what you were hearing on your normal radio station. Like, people were going for, they were exploring the heaviness and what it meant to have something be heavy. And I loved that. you know, so what I wanted to bring to whatever I was doing is like, what is it those guys are doing that, what's the harmonics of what that is and the rhythm of what that is, and could that work in a, you know, in a in a art rock scenario, you know?
Yeah.
Jane's Addiction was like huge for us. I mean, that was like an enormous influence in terms of like seeing a band just amalgamizing all sorts of different
Yeah.
things and putting it into a, you know,
And
something that was ecstatic.
were you on Jane's Addiction early? When did they come into your
Yeah.
business? Is that nothing shocking?
I think it would have been the, no, I think it would have been the first, it would have been the first EP to the live. I think they had a live EP before that they released. And they had, you know, it was a West Coast thing. So we kind of heard about it. I had a friend who was from LA and who had seen them play in Los Angeles when we were on tour. Green River's on tour too. So uh, they, you know, they again kind of showed what's possible by taking disparaging parts and just sort of, you know, putting them together
Yeah.
with the idea of getting ecstatic. I think that was part of the thrill of that era, was that everybody was, you know, kind of going for, the crowd was part of it, the bands were part of it. It was all this sort of, you know, this sort of drunken, you know, thing. And I think that was the first time I got exposed to like that kind of release, or what that kind of felt like to kind of be in a in that sort of state. So I liked that and wanted more of that.
So you said that Steve was straight edge at the time. Did you follow suit with him, or were you introduced to like
No.
literature and stuff like that? Did that interact with your live music experiences in any way?
Drugs.
Well, whatever you're willing to discuss. More alcohol.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, we drank. That, you know, that was part of it. You know, half of that was just like trying to get the courage to kind of let go, and wanting to kind of get back to that state. You know, I don't think that I really needed it. In retrospect, I think, you know, all the years of drinking and smoking pot that I've done, I have some regrets about, because not drinking and smoking pot right now, I find myself very ready and excited to kind of be able to find those places, you know, without them. And so, you know, I'm having my own, you know, sort of revelations about that. But at the time, for sure, you know, at the time, that was just, you know, part of the method of losing yourself, was that sort of, you know, needing that sort of pass to lose yourself, I guess. And alcohol kind of gives you that, you know.
Yeah, I can relate to that. My friend
Yeah.
Mike told me that playing shows not under the influence of drink or drugs is the truth. And he's like,
Yeah.
good or bad, it's the truth,
Yeah.
which really stuck with him.
And it seems scary, and it seems like it's not going to be as fun, but it really can be, once you sort of you get past that first stage of it. But I've been enjoying being sober at shows lately, and it's been good for me. It's better for my playing. I think I'm more resilient as a sober person, in terms of like, I get drunk, but then you fuck a song up, and then you just like fucking hang your head for the rest of the show and just be like, Jesus, fuck, I hate myself.
Well, I'm interested to discuss, like, when I think of like Mudhoney and like Mark and those guys, I think of like kind of a rigid punk rock, like, it's just such a fierce ethos that's very, almost like, can get like dogmatic. And I just wondered how it was being creative with those guys.
Yeah, I think intellectually, you know, all of us were strong-willed in that band in Green River. I see the transition to Mudhoney as a liberation for those guys. I think there were so many different points of view on Green River, and it was so disparaging the sort of way it was trying to fit together that it ended up sort of um, being conceptually complex and less satisfying musically. I think it didn't really flow a lot of times because it was really trying to like it was individuals trying to overlay their kind of view on on what it should be. I think Mudhoney is like the purest form of grunge personally in terms of I think once Mark and Steve were kind of free and they met Dan and there was this like they were released from this sort of songwriting aspect of it where I think their songwriting came more from just, explosions of just probably rehearsal explosions of just a riff being played and somebody, everyone jumping on board and there wasn't structurally less complex, more open-ended, more exciting, more of a vibe, more of a groove. So I think they found their way after Green River. I think that was what kind of released them into that, really solidifying kind of what ended up being perceived as kind of grunge in terms of like this very primitive heavy metal, a very primitive, punk rock heavy metal that is rooted in, it's rooted in the blues. It's all the blues really, but has that that sort of drunken chaos with it as well. So, but yeah, I think that intellectualizing about music and sort of knowing where you want to take something and exactly how you want to do it is can be, I guess, a good thing, but it also can, if you're thinking about it, you're not, that's why I keep going back to that, like stumbling around on my guitar. Cause it's like, if I stumble around on it, the essence of what I'm doing is not self-conscious. It's less, I don't know. So I think there was some of that. I think both Steve and Mark could have been at different times can be dogmatic in terms of like what they think is cool. But I think they're also like, if you're in a band with them, they're doing their best to like, that's the thing. If you're in a band, you got to take everybody in and you got to kind of, work with everyone. So I never felt like I was overwhelmed by their, if anything, it was probably the other way around. I was so voracious in my wanting to write songs and sort of being on to like where I could come in with another 2 riffs every single day. Didn't mean they were great. It just was like, but I could go home and like kind of remember them and like have them worked out. And like, so I was just addicted to that, that feeling of developing ideas and wanting to write songs. So I don't think I was as thoughtful about okay, who's in the group and like what is the motifs in this group that work together? Like how do I write a song that makes everybody else good? So that's what I think about. My older self thinks back that I could have been a much better bandmate for those guys because I think all of at the time I think I was trying to fit a round peg in a square hole,
yeah,
or vice versa.
Oh man, what a great answer. Yeah, it's so interesting. So it's just a very like free kind of. I guess you're more considering the things that you were sort of bringing to the table, but it seems like it was just quite open as far like creatively between you guys. Was it just sort of like pure creation?
Yeah, I mean, the first song they wrote, was like a 9. We were all listening at the time too to like Alice Cooper and stuff like that, and that was part of like old Alice Cooper. I was getting turned on to like early Kiss and old Alice Cooper and all these old kind of glam early and I think the first song they wrote was like a 9-minute song with like 6 parts that went everywhere, and it was we were trying for everything because we just didn't care. We knew that we sucked, so it was like let's just be like irreverent, I think, and that was part of it. It was just like, nobody can tell us this isn't cool, like,
Totally, totally.
and there was moments, I think, particularly early on, where we did hit some things that were pretty good, but bands are weird. They can, if they, usually sometimes they're the best when they first start out because everybody's fresh and everybody's like open,
Mhm.
and then it's as the bands get older, sometimes they can solidify and sort of get rigid, you know.
That ties in with what you said about your approach to songwriting and the guitar, where you're trying not to let your brain catch on to what you're doing and kind of spoil the magic, the purity of like true creation, purging, before your, yeah, the rest of your mind capitalizes on that and kind of makes it self-conscious, like you said. It's a similar vibe, really.
I mean, some of the best things that I feel like I've written are things that, you step out to sound check and you just pick your guitar up and just, you just play something, right? You don't know what you're playing, but you just play something, and it's, you got the energy there, people around you, you sort of have that elevated state where you're like aware, but you're not overly self-conscious.
Yeah.
It's finding that time where you just pick up a guitar and you don't over. I have a tendency to over arrange, just because you start playing something and then you've got, time, and you play it the next day. Oh, this is cool, I could go here. And then, oh, this is great, I could go, and then sort of on recording day, hopefully you're smart enough to edit yourself and go, you know what, it's actually just this one riff, and I'm going to just play it for a while, and then another part is going to come out from the bass changing, or another part is going to come out from the, you know you know I strum it rather than I pick it, or it's just you break it back down, and then that sort of invites other parts, it invites other people.
You keep it open ended. I can really relate to that.
So I'm conscious of that. Yeah.
And I I was really late in realizing that we made a record with Neil Young. You made Mirrorball, and there's a track on Mirrorball, which I think is a single
Yeah.
action, which almost sounds like the first take in an amazing way. But it's so, I was just like, first of all, this is amazing, and second of all,
It's all
I would never be able to just let something go like that. I just go out, just like done. What was that like?
totally. That's all. I mean, the greatest music lessons I've ever gotten in my life were from Neil Young, because we got to hang out with him, and watch him play live, on multiple nights from right behind his amp, or and sort of witness his simplicity, and talk to him about songwriting, and hear him say, you know, uh, you know, how the essence of these things he's doing is always so simple. I mean, he's literally playing like two or three chords, and it's just, it goes, and he moves, but it's the timbre of his voice. It's the longing in his solos. It's this, he just fixates on that feeling, and that's all he chases, is that, that moment or whatever. But he loved our band, and we played a song with him at the MTV Awards one year or whatever. He asked Free World with him. We were like, reached out to the rest of us and said, well, let me. I think you guys are great. Let me. I think he wanted to support all of us, but I think in a sense he did it by supporting the band, which is sort of fun, because I know that he's a huge fan of Ed's, and I know they love each other and have big respect for each other. But the fact that he went, okay, on this, here's the band, like maybe those guys need a little lift too, which is so nice. And he just said, let's make a record. And he literally wrote songs at his hotel the night before. We were there for 3 days or something at a studio in Seattle. He just came up, and he show us the chords. Okay, this one goes, C, G, D, and then the chorus is this. And play it once, play it as a band, and that would be the take. He'd be like, great, perfect, move on. And then he just had these giant pieces of paper, scrawled out lyrics where he was like, you could tell he was just staying up late smoking pot and just fucking, creating these storylines that they, beautiful, amazing lyrics, like amazing.
And how did you feel?
I was terrified. I mean, I was comping the chords. I was just like fucking, like not knowing, not having any idea how to really support a Neil Young song. Like, you don't want to step outside of the framework that he's sort of laying down. In a sense, you're trying to like support it, but he just kind of wanted us to just be ourselves. He just wanted us to make a racket. He wasn't concerned. He's not a perfectionist in that. He's perfectionist with the feeling that that he's experiencing, and he can make that feeling translate to a lot of people. But I think that it wasn't about it was about him deciding he was going to do something and just kind of, here we're going to go. And then I got 4 days and we're going to make this record and this is what it is. And but he definitely didn't want to play multiple takes. I mean, he could have orchestrated a little bit more. He could have said, wait, you come in here and, how about you play it up high on the neck? Or, there's different ways that you could kind of start to make it have more architecture. But literally, I have no idea we just played the chords he showed us and we just got through it.
Oh, it's fucking stunning. It's an amazing record. And that is quite profound and deep. It's just the world I come from. I remember hearing Neil Young talking about the finite nature of tape, recording to tape, and that like if you overplay tape, it can dull the sound, and just because it's a living, breathing format, that your record doesn't sound the same by the end of the sessions than it did at the start, just by the nature of the degradation setting in. And like, I just thought that rang so true of like his whole ethos. But from the digital world where it's the total opposite of that, and you can self-edit and worry about what everyone's going to think about you to the point there's just, it's the opposite of the world where I come from.
Well, it's a good time to, consciously be thinking about those kinds of things, because that's exactly the thing that, that AI can't replicate. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like, how do you put yourself in a position to make something that AI couldn't predict? And I think the only way to do that is putting yourself in context of multiple artists doing their own thing and amalgamating something that is, unpredictable,
totally,
and human in the sense that, I mean, look how good everybody is these days. You can just scroll through Instagram and just see virtuosity at every level, at every juncture. And virtuosity in context of groups and stuff, but a lot of virtuosity of just individuals, people just showing insane levels of musical, like understanding of musical and even just physical and dexterity that's like fucking beyond. But what's the next punk rock? That's what I'm always curious about. What's the next thing that sort of rejects everything that's going on right now in some way, and it's, I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm thinking about it.
There's something almost spiritual about the approach that you seem to naturally have, and that Neil Young, from what you've said,
I don't know if it's spiritual or if it's just artistic, in the sense that what are those moments where you hear something or see something and it blows your mind because of how fresh it seems, and why does it seem fresh? Why did Nirvana sound like they sounded when they came out? Or why did Van Halen sound like they sounded when they came out, or why did the Police or yeah, or Chuck Berry.
Yeah. So just touching on like entering like another artist's kind of world, like you did that record with Neil Young, and also I saw that you recently did a track with Iggy Pop. That was a few years ago, right?
Mm.
How was that experience?
It was great. You know, we were working with Andrew Watt, who was producing the Iggy record, and um, so at that time we had been writing songs for a new Pearl Jam record, and he just said, you know, you got anything tucked away that could be a cool Iggy song? So I just, you know, I had a couple riffs and I put them together, and he was him and Chad. Um, Chad from the Chili Peppers showed up at the studio, and we all showed up together, and we cut it in about, you know, an hour and a half or less. And I didn't get to meet Iggy or, you know, communicate with him on any level, but I was happy to have a song that
Well,
he sang on.
to be part of that discography must be quite wild.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, he's ground zero for Seattle for sure in a lot of ways. I mean, it was Funhouse was being played at a lot of parties, and that record sums up probably it's probably the greatest record in my mind in terms of just like all the things that I want it to be. You know, it's got this groove that's totally undeniable, yet it's homemade. It's it's not virtuoso at all, and yet people can't repeat that. You can have people can play, you know, TVI all they want, but it doesn't feel the way that drummer feels with that bass player. Like there's, you know, it's like Creedence Clearwater Revival or something. It's like those grooves where you're just like that. You can't get that, you know, with any drummer. You know, that comes from something that's just, you know, that's a band finding their own groove in their own way, and that's, you know,
I mean, like
incredible.
with Creedence and the Stooges to a degree, but like with those guys in AC/DC, they're basically utilizing the same format.
Yeah,
But
totally.
but through the like homogeny of that format, it's why I love the guitar so much, because it's just this like level playing field that means you can project whoever you are onto it, and that's the thing that speaks the loud,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, AC/DC changed my life.
Yeah, quite a fucking epic band, quite an easy band to overlook because usually everyone devours them. It's like the first thing you get to is AC/DC.
Yeah.
Or at least it was for me. So I completely, you know, it was like eating too much rich food. And then for eight,
Yeah.
I didn't listen to them, and I went back and I was just like, holy fuck, man, Mutt Lang, like this is it. This is amazing.
Yeah. Sonically, and just what they don't play, the spareness of how they make something sound so great on a record, and then just, you know, the feel. You know, they just had feel for days. You know, out in the, I don't know where, the Perth. They were out in some barn in Perth practicing, but they got a groove. You know.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Man. I love that. I search out that feeling of that where it's like it makes you want to dance, whatever it is. It's like makes you want to move your body. That's usually the thing that I'm most excited about, you know, when I'm writing, is trying to find things that will do that.
It's interesting. I wanted to ask you, do you trust your instincts more now than you did then?
I think I know myself better now, but again, I can go in and you know, I make lots of demos, because you just like, you have ideas and you just want to get them someplace so they don't just disappear, and then you can go back and but I still find myself so excited about an idea, go in and do it, think it's great, come back, listen to it a week later, like it's not that great.
Yeah.
And putting something down roughshod that I just kind of came up with and I just want to just capture it for 2 seconds and I just want to make sure I don't forget it or whatever. And not realizing like how good it is until, weeks later. So it's still roulette. It's still half the time it's looking back and discovering something about something that I didn't recognize. So a lot of it is still like making sure that I keep an open mind to that whatever idea I'm excited about, it might not be the most important thing in that day for me to pay attention to, and that it's something else. I might miss something else by being so excited about my own idea. So I'm trying to stay in that state of mind because I think that's the state for that particularly for Pearl Jam to succeed, that we need that state of where anything can happen. Because I think that's when we've been the most successful is literally against the wall, where you just kind of have to kind of come up with something, or you're in the studio and you have one riff or something and you just have to like. But it's this sort of group mindset that and that sharing, the essence of that sharing, I think is part of what makes something solidify into something more meaningful.
It's really interesting. Like, yeah, I really loved Dark Matter, that record you put out. It's the
Yeah.
latest record. I don't know if you've gone back to it since, if that's something that you do. You sort of go back and listen to your old records or anything like that. Or is it?
I haven't listened to that one that much, but I played it a lot, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of what we did there for sure.
I remember speaking to you around the time, and you had this like producer who you were really excited about, and he was reinvigorating things and getting you back to
Yeah.
like an earlier mindset that you.
Yeah.
But like, how did that record
Yeah.
come
I'm
about?
up.
Like solo demos, or were you all together making it in the room? Yeah. Can you talk about that?
Making the room. We just, we making a record with Andrew. We just jumped off a cliff with him, and he had recorded some stuff with Ed, and Ed was excited about Andrew and said we should just come down, and he's got a house and he's got a bunch of gear, and we just fly down and let's just make some music. No, expectations or whatever. And that in itself is, that's a different mindset for Ed, and I think a different mindset for the band in general. I think we get process oriented, and we're like, let's plan this. Okay, bring all our gear, and you get into these headspaces where it becomes more about the experience together is found in the music. It can help the music. And so I think, and I think we wrote a couple of our best songs in the first 24 hours from that record, by, okay, who's got a riff? And we just played through his gear, drums in the room, just, he has a good setup and was like able to like kind of,
So like what
he had his kind of sound for us kind of figured out in a way. And so we were able, as soon as we listened back, it was like it already sounded kind of mixed in a way. So it was like it was very satisfying, and we kind of did that for a week, and that was great. And then we ended up, having to kind of recap and took us a while to get back in to finish the record. But I think when we did, we had another one of those 10-day sessions where everybody was pretty together, and everybody felt like we didn't know what was going to happen, and that was part of the thrill. But that was a good it was a record we needed to make at that time for sure.
It's a great record. I really love it. I want to ask you a little bit about like when you formed the label, and how you came upon Queens of the Stone Age.
I got turned on to them. This is probably 1995, I think. Um, and Regan and I, long friends, already 10, 11 years at that point, friendship. Um, you know, had made a Brad record, some Brad music together, had started to kind of, hear bands that we liked, wanted to do some more stuff. We loved Andy's brother band, Andy Wood, who's the singer for Mother Love Bone. We loved his brother's band called Devilhead. So I fell in love with this band called Weapon of Choice, a Los Angeles funk band that I just loved. Um, so we wanted to put a label together, and I think we had been a label for a couple of years, and it was all a little fluffy in the sense that we loved our bands and we wanted to succeed, but I don't know that we really knew what we were doing, and it was sort of probably from the record company's perspective, it was like, well, let's give him some money to do his label because he wants to do a label, and he's on our, it wasn't, we weren't the most professional. But and we hired a young guy named Matt Shea, and to do radio promo. He was a radio guy from Bellingham, intern from a college station in Bellingham, and I feel like it was somewhere between Matt Shea and maybe Matt Cameron had played a little bit with Josh on some demos or something like that. Anyway, just kind of filtered around that, Queens of the Stone Age, the ex-Caius guy had a record he was trying to put out. Caius was sort of legend around Seattle. And, we reached out in some way. I can't remember exactly how it went, but, we reached out, and he was ready to make a move. He wanted to put it out immediately. He knew he was kind of on to his journey, and he needed a first step. He just had to get a record out. And yeah, and we heard of basically the finished record, as his demos. And yeah, we said yes immediately. And then we did, we put it out, and it didn't really sell, while we had it. I think I think we ended up, spending on promo, who knows where this money got spent. It was just an ungodly amount of money. But I think, based on how many records we sold in the first sort of pressing for Loose Groove, I think it was something we would have spent $20. We could have paid people $20 to take the record. That's how, it's like, it was silly. But at the same time, everybody knew that this band was, go on. So they Universal ended up wanting to buy them out, and we were more than happy to send them on to their fame.
So then you put the label on, would you call it a hiatus? Did you just, you wanted to press pause?
I just shut it down. I was like, I was in over my head. I was, too stuffed, too much on, and I was just I was writing checks, that I couldn't pay, in terms of like, these are people's bands. These are like people's dreams of like, and if I wasn't going to be really like as important as it, I wasn't going to make it a priority enough in my life to like be able to handle it. I didn't feel like I should do it. So I just knew that it was more than I could handle. So, 20 years later, up again, and I hear this fucking fantastic Tigercub, which is so happy that we get to work together, Jamie.
Me too, dude. It was quite a surreal thing to have you. I think I was texting you a little bit, and then my phone started blowing up because you'd like used the Pearl Jam social media to shout us out.
Yeah.
I was like, JB, fucking Pearl Jam want to sign you. And it was just fucking surreal. It was such a blessing. So you had a hand in our latest record. I don't know if you want to talk about our sort of some of the conversation points that we were having and some of the, I don't know, how you fitted into that stage of the songwriting and the process. Because I would consider you as quite involved at an early stage of Nets to Catch the Wind.
I love listening to music and talking about it and sort of scheming artistically with people as they're developing ideas and records. So to me, it's something that I love to do, and especially with people that I really like, and bands whose music I really like. So I found that process to be very enjoyable. And I'm honored that I got to listen of songs and basically be I'm a cheerleader in a sense. I mean, I can just talk about my own experience and sort of what the importance of things that helped me and try to use those in a way that seems helpful to somebody who's wrestling with having a child, having a musical baby. It helps to have an outside ear sometimes. So, that's the role I was happy to play with this record. And um, I'm proud of or I think you made an amazing record, and it wasn't a straight line, but it was I hope it was an enjoyable process for you.
It was really enjoyable, and it was a lot of what you were saying about your approach to writing and just not being afraid to do something that's out of your wheelhouse or just not think about it too much. I found that like
Yeah.
immensely. I remember fighting back against it, and like the fear instinct was kicking in because you think, oh God, got to protect this little baby that we've got. I don't want to push it too far, and it sort of breaks under the pressure of being something that it maybe shouldn't be. And but it was such an important journey to go on. Um, it was really enjoyable for me. I mean, it was just so nice to have like a co-pilot just during that stage, because I tend to take on a lot of the sort of like core songwriting and stuff like that, and it can be a little bit hard to get perspective on things, especially when I'm just purging songs and there's like hundreds of them. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll make that.
Well, you're lucky that you're a really, really good songwriter.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, and you've obviously signed the Bad Nerves as well. Do you want to talk about like artists that you've got currently on the label? I just think Bad Nerves is such an exciting band. You seem to have like helped just bridge the gap between this like burgeoning hype into actual just I don't know. They're delivering on their potential at the minute. It's so exciting to watch.
Yeah, I'm thrilled with kind of where we're at as a label right now. I do feel like between the bands and kind of our experience that we're kind of in the right place right now. And I love Tiger Cub. I'm very excited about Bad Nerves. Very excited about Brittany Davis.
Mhm.
So those are just it's a good time in life to sing and be involved in other people's music in a way that feels like I can help in a certain way. I can help with just having had the experience of gone through it all. At least be optimistic and supportive. Try to those things are sometimes it's hard to come by.
I would say very hard to come by. If you could send a message back to yourself just before everything sort of changed with Pearl Jam, what would you say to yourself?
Um, I don't know. Quit smoking pot, probably. Let's see what else. Um, I think I don't think I enjoyed a lot of the ride because I was anxious about living up to it, anxious about that it wasn't working the way I wanted it to, anxious about uh, I just not, I just not being present, as present as I could be in situations that were, so many situations that were beautiful and could have used more attention. And I guess I just would have thought to, trust, trust my instincts and you know, yeah, just pay closer attention to what's going on around you, and uh, and stop being so needy.
That's really sweet. I think that's a lovely note to end on. Stone, thank you so much for your time, and it's been awesome.
Well, I love chatting with you anytime, Jamie.